I'm back. Yeah, of course. I made changes and now everything's gonna trying to trying to verify that I didn't break anything. 80, 80, 80. There we go. Come on, there we go. All right, we'll see how this goes. I have a feeling it's not gonna be as great as I want it to be, but that's fine. Yeah. Okay. We probably we'll just leave the simulator open. Uh, Welcome back, everybody. If you're listening and if you're not, no big deal. This is Artifact for myself. Okay, trying to make sure that my audio is working correctly this time. Okay, it seems like it. I was running into an issue last time where my audio was doubling. Doesn't sound like it's doing that anymore. Sorry, so I'm just testing my audio to make sure that I don't break the world. All right, cool. So we'll go ahead and close that. We'll bring that up, and we will get right back into it. So the last time I think where I ended up, I was waffling back and forth about how to properly do all of this excess jazz. Can I get rid of that theme key map update dark theme plugin? Not at all what I want to do. AI assistant. None of that looks like what I want. Can I? I guess I can't hide that anymore. All right, that's fine. Um, what I was trying to figure out last time was some of this pet state stuff using the copy with method, how I was going to do some of this pet state jazz. I think I've kind of settled on a path forward with that. I've got my bits working. I'm actually going to run this real quick because I don't even know what the state of the union is. I haven't executed this since the last time we looked at it, but I did get a chance to look at some of the theming stuff. So I spent a good couple of days just kind of casually perusing over the interwebs, uh, trying to find uh, trying to find information around theming. Uh, I think my issue with a lot of the content for any technology is you get a lot of these hello world examples where people are like, oh well, this is how you do theming and this is how it's done, and they give you like a 4 minute blog post read, and that's supposed to be the comprehensive guide to how to do it, but it doesn't actually answer any of the actual questions that I would have as a developer trying to build an application for production. So a lot of people tell you that, oh, developers are opinionated. Well, because we generally have to form our own opinions because no one pre-cans opinions for us, because of blog posts like that where people are like, oh well, you do it this way and blah blah blah, and it's just like, oh, okay, I get it. So the concept for me always comes in where I'll look at a blog post, I'll read it, I'll try and understand kind of what it's saying, what the spirit of it is, and then I'll apply my previous experience with technology to that blog post and kind of try and figure out how would I do this if I was trying to build an application for a client or for myself, right? Like here, where we're doing this. So I had some theming done, and I think at one of the early streams I talked about how the fact that I found this really nice Figma to Flutter AI generated thing, and I knew that it was going to come back to bite me that I used magic code that I didn't understand, and here we are, right? Like, so I've got this theming bit where I have a theming class and it does colors and it does all of this stuff, but it doesn't actually get me where I want to be. So I have since then applied my theme, which is just this theme, which is just theming data. I get theming data, which gets me the theme data. So we'll backtrack all the way through, and we go and grab this app theme, which is really just the color schemes, right? And then based upon the color scheme, we we apply that color scheme to various aspects of the theme data. Cool. Okay, fair enough, right? Like it tracks. I get it. So you get your, I've got like my application colors. These are all the colors that I'm going to use throughout the application. Blah blah stuff and junk. Great, should work fantastic, right? Well, it doesn't work the way that I my mind brain expects it to work, or maybe my C sharp brain. I don't know, but it doesn't work how I want it to work. So now I'm actually getting back into this concept of trying to make the things work the way I expect them to work. That's the design. That's components, colors, and typography. That's what we want. So what is the hex value for this is 8F. I don't even have that in here anywhere, do I? No, I know I don't. Yeah, okay. Take the word off. Okay, I do have it in a whole bunch of places. So this is that secondary gray color. So I call it secondary gray here, but I also call it gray 500. Okay. Okay, so, all right, so at this point, I am conceptualizing the fact of this. There are application colors, right, which help a theme, and then there's, or maybe it is the theme, I don't know. But then there's also how we style things based upon those colors, and that's where I feel like a lot of the content around how to do this. Like I was searching about an hour or two this week, just trying to understand like what content is out there around it, and everything was the same thing, right? Oh, you just create this theme data class and everything works, and I'm like, but it doesn't. It doesn't actually work that way. There's more to it than that, at least. Let me say it that way. So I'm gonna attempt to try and use my understanding of composability. So if we're taking a step down the C sharp, like the computer, or sorry, the computer C sharp was CS in my brain. CS is actually computer science, was what I was trying to get across. So like down that computer science world where we talk about inheritance versus composition, right? So as I understand it, Flutter is a very composable language. So I'm going to attempt to use the composability of Flutter, or just composability in Flutter, I guess, or in Dart technically, and use it to compose some concerns. So at this point, I'm actually going to bring up the Figma real quick so we can start looking at like some of the components that are there in this Figma. And in this Figma, um, it'll the basic what I'm going to be looking at today is that box. So if I click this, yeah, it did move me. Let me see if I can. Let me just fix this real quick. This is telling me 1440 by, so I need to bring this down 1440 by 80. That'll have to be close enough, right? That's 80 pixels. That's 1440. Beautiful. There we go. Sorry, I'm like doing it live as we speak. So, or messing with my OBS as we speak. So, okay. So the way I'm looking at this now is, right, like now I've got this text entry with information, right? So what is my pet's name? My pet's name is Ollie, right? So yeah, there we go. Okay, so we're gonna mute breakpoints because we still haven't figured out that RX bit, this debounce concept. So we'll come back to that. Oh, that's what we were working on last time. Okay, so now at least I have an understanding. So what I did was in my text entry class, and this is where I'm gonna start taking this and trying to move it into a theme, because I want all my text entries to look like this. Generally, what I've learned with working with designers is designers usually like to have like a concept of primary, secondary, and tertiary things. I'll use the general things word, meaning there's like a primary action button and a secondary action button. The primary action button is meant to bring your visual attention to the primary action that they want, that the designer wants you to click. So I want you to click next. I don't want you to click back. Right? There's no back button here, but we'll get to that in a minute, and we'll kind of talk through that. It's like I want you to click this next button, so I have to visually make it from a theming perspective, I have to visually make it look like the main action you should take. And usually the secondary action has like a softer set of colors. It doesn't have as bright or in your face coloring scheming. And then the tertiary is even usually kind of like a hypertext link where the button may not even look like a button, but you click on it, and like if you accidentally click on it, you'll realize it's an action. So I'm trying to bring some level of that concept, right, to my UI and my theming. So what I realized is, and again, I don't know Flutter. I don't know if what I'm about to do is the quote unquote Flutter way to do things. but I honestly don't care. I've been writing software for some years. I've got some opinions, and I'm trying to marry my opinions to this new framework that I'm learning, right? So what I've done here and what you see is directly in this particular text field where I have my own text entry widget that I am creating. I've provided this text field with a decorator, an input decorator to give it some understanding of kind of what's going on. So that said, I actually want to take this input decoration and move it out so that it's composable, right? So given the way that Flutter is set up, I have to put this on a text field. From what I have seen, and maybe somebody will be kind enough to comment in the video and tell me, hey, Rodney, you're supposed to do it this way, smart guy, right? My understanding of it is that you have your theme data, right? So let me go find theme data, right? So you have your theme data, and in your theme data, you can do certain things like button elevations button themes and outline themes and radio themes and checkbox themes, right? But like I looked, and maybe the documentation, I don't see anything for. I see a text button and a text selection, but I don't see a text field, which I would expect to see. So given that it doesn't exist there, I'm going to do it the way that my brain rationalizes it. I've got this decorators class, and again, this is me learning Flutter. I'm trying to make this decorators class composable. So I started off just putting all of my decorators in here, but I like very much to segregate things in not necessarily segregate things, but put like things in groups. So I'm gonna have my decorators is gonna provide the box decorator, which gets you access to the box decorator bits. My input decorator. This is actually what I'm gonna call my primary text field. So I'm gonna make that my input decorator for that primary text field. And now if I go back over to that funky text box and I do a decorators, import the thing dot. Uh-oh. So maybe they do need to be static. And maybe yeah, this needs to be static in order for it to pick it up, because I don't have an instance of it. Okay, so it needs to be static in order for it to pick it up. And then I'm going to do a get. I'm going to call this, I called that box decorators. I'm going to call this input decorators, and I'm going to just call that input, and I'm going to return an input decorator. And now I should be able to go back to my thing and call decorators dot input. Ooh, IntelliJ is telling me something that I don't know. That's a new icon that I've not, or a new meta icon on top of the icon that I've not seen before. I wonder if that means I'm doing something wrong. Hopefully it'll yell at me if I am. And I should be able to, from there, once I get to the input, right, the input decorators. So I guess those are static. So I should be able to get to the primary text field from here. No? Let's do primary text field. And it's going to tell me that it doesn't have access to it for some reason. So what's that exception? Static getter can't be accessed through an instance. Oh, I see. I'm smart. So now if I go back here and I take this off, because it's returning the thing, so these statics aren't required, but the statics here are required. Okay, cool. So now if I go back, this should have my primary text field, okay? And if I go and do, where's my build, my debug window, and if I go refresh, I'm actually going to restart the whole thing from the beginning so we can see it from the beginning. Okay. So now my primary text field decoration on my text field is such that I have a dog. Here's my primary text field. Boom. So now this is actually going all the way in here, and now I can just reuse my primary text field input decorator, right? And that's kind of how I think I'm going to compose these things, based upon what I see in the Figma design. But now I actually need to go back to the Figma design, because the Figma design doesn't actually. Come on, can I get closer? I want to drill down further than that. The label, the input, the group. I want to know what that background color is on that input. Figma, will you tell me what the background color is on the input? It's going to tell me that it's the one that I already have, but that's clearly not the case, because it's way lighter on the Figma design than it is in my application. So let's go look. This is my inability to use Figma. I used another tool before Figma, and I'm starting to use Figma kind of more in depth. So trying to understand how to do that is part of where I am. That's the fill color. So the fill, no, I don't want to change it. I just want to look at it and see input field. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Can you just tell me what the color is? Is it the stroke? Is that oh wait, no. How do I know? No, I don't want to change it. I want to look at what the stroke color is. This is okay. Maybe it's gonna tell me that I need to buy Figma in order to be able to do anything useful. Of course, right? How dare I just try and evaluate a tool before I buy it? Um, okay, so then let me do it a different way. Let me see if I can. There we go. There we go. This one is giving me the stroke value that I need. Perfect. So I'll get the color off of here, and I will move that into my colors. Let me go look for application colors. So yeah, this is the first time we're actually doing like Flutter stuff, in that we're actually doing like theming and coloring, because up until now I've just been like, let me learn how to do the. Sorry, I realizing that the way I've got these things set up is weird. Yeah, but like this is the first time I'm like, yeah, let me actually do some UI related stuff, because who does that? Who does UI related stuff? The stroke. Okay, this is the stroke. Nope, don't do that, Figma. Just why can't you just like give me a thing that tells me what the color is? Oh, this is so interesting how they have this tool laid out. Okay, let's go back to the components. So I at least have it. So I should be able to go back here, and my color I should be able to do. Let me go back actually to my application colors. These are all. Oh, the expectation would be that I get this from the theme. I think this is gonna break, but we're gonna try it anyway. So app theme dot gray 3001. Let's try that. So we're gonna try the fill color, and what does that do? Oh, I have to restart. Dun, dun, dun. Where's the build? Nope, it's not build. It's run. Not the debugging. Debug. There we go. Restart. Ooh, that is clearly not the color we expect it to be. Gray 3001. Oh, we want to use 3002. That's not even a gray. How about that? Or these doesn't look like gray to me. Save it. Refresh. There we go. That's the background color that I expect. Now the question is, why is the text background color? It's likely because of how I've got this being used. Okay, yeah, the background color I set here. So I don't want to set a background color on my text style. So now I'm actually getting into it. Perfect. Okay, now I'm getting into it, and I think the text color I need on the text style would be, what other color? Okay, let's go look at text style. Text style has a color and a background color. Oh, I see. That's the wrong black. Okay, what black is this? 1717. Let's go find it. And we're going to call it themes. Okay, so we're going to call that app theme dot black, right? Because we expect that to be, so if we refresh now, okay, so now that's, so we can also play with the font weights and all that, and we're gonna probably move this text style out as well, because I want to be able to reuse this anywhere, and just say, hey, this text uses text style 1 or text style 10 or whatever the case may be, or semi bold, or semi bold and italicized, or whatever the case comes down to. Make it the whole thing a little bit easier for me. Okay, so now I've got that. So I actually want to restart the whole thing because I feel like there's a nuance. Yeah. So when I don't, okay, okay, I see. Because of the way the input decoration, so because I have a border and a border radius, that seems fine. I also want to also bring in the margins. I don't know if I can do that through the decoration. Does the decoration actually allow me to set, okay, it lets me set label style, which should be a text style. Perfect. So maybe I should actually just take this text style out. And I've actually done this in some of this in another application that I've been working on. Like I tell you, like this is the side application that I'm just kind of playing with stuff and learning more. Uh, but I feel like I've done this in another solution, slightly different. But we're gonna continue down this road. So we're gonna say that the text input. So we actually want to take this style and make it part of the decorator, or does that work with the text field? I've actually noticed that certain things are kind of funky, whereby you'll think that the thing belongs uh, on the text box or the text field or the style, and if you put it in the wrong place, Flutter very promptly tells you that you're wrong. So that's the box decoration. So we need this decoration filled. We're gonna call this, that's the border. So let's find style, suffix style. That seems odd. That's gonna be input decoration. Has a label style. So why didn't it come up? Label style should be that, right? Okay, so now if I take, oh, I have some text themes already. Oh, I am so smart. Perfect. So I can do text themes. Oh, I gotta pass in the color scheme in order to do that, don't I? Am I using this anywhere? I am not. Oh, I am. And the color scheme. Oh, I see. This is where it's like, oh, well, you should just do it the way that put it all in the theme data. And I'm like, okay. So the theme data. Let's go look at the theme data because I just, let's find question mark space text theme. Ooh. Okay, so there is just a text theme and a primary text theme. So what's the difference between those? Text. So there's primary text theme. There's a Cupertine that's a copy with. We don't care about that. This is a text theme off of the theme data factory, which is fine, right? So we expect there to be a text theme. We expect there to be a text selection, a text button. So we should provide a text theme in the theme data. But there's already a text theme. It's coming from the style, so why doesn't it automatically work? Let's go look at this. What is this? Oh, is Flutter nice enough to tell me like right here in the thing? No, it's not. I gotta go look at the documentation. For theme data. Theme data. Dun dun dun. Text theme. Oh, that's disappointing. I click on the what I expect to give me more information and it gives me no information. Text theme. Let's go look at it from the sidebar then. Text field, text button, theme, text theme, text theme. Okay, here we go. Oh, I see. So, okay, the definition of various so rather than creating a text theme directly, you can obtain an instance through typography black or white theme of text data theme text theme property. Okay, I see. So by default, oh, so I need to set the on primary of the color scheme, which, okay, so that's a thing. So where in my code do I do this? I do color scheme equals color scheme light, color scheme supported primary. Let's do that. Light color scheme I set it here. Okay, so the primary, the secondary, the Oh, okay. So the on colors are the text colors. The on primary. Let's hover over it and see what it says. A color that's clearly legible when drawn on primary to ensure that the app is accessible. Contrast ratio between primary and on primary of at least is recommended. Don't know what that means. I'm not a designer, but I'm hoping that I can get. Oh, my dog is barking. I'm not sure if you can hear that. Oh, okay. So this is that 1717, which we have there, and we have here, which is black. And we are stating that we don't want the full spectrum, but we do. So let's do this here. That's the primary color, right? So now that we have primary color, let's go back. We should, on primary with opacity, large label. So, okay, so now I should be able to just do, well, no, the text themes are already there, so I should be able to, oh, how do I use these? That's the question that I need to answer. Okay, so, okay, I get that it does all of these things, but how do I say, for a given, I want to use large body or body medium? That's the question we're trying to figure out today, right? So the font family, I don't even know if any of that's accurate, but the text style, the text small. We want to use text.medium. So how, we're going to Google this. How to use individual text theme title medium, right? Like how to use it. Okay, apply to the widget. 3-minute read. Everything you need to know in 3 minutes. I'm like, yeah, sure. Ooh, theme of context. Okay, so if I want to do this, I need to provide it from the context, but the context won't be provided here. So I technically don't really need this. And I'm expecting that if I comment that out, save, and then I go and restart my IDE, that I will have a difference. Okay, yeah, it still works, I think. So now if I go, okay, so now if I go back to my text theme, and I go to color scheme on primary, so let's go to, what was it? Here we go. Here's my light color scheme. So let's just change, I'm going to just change this to like a green for a second, just to verify that it works the way I expect it to work. Not because I actually believe that it's going to see all library colors. Green 2. So we're going to, so this is green 2 is 27AE60, right? So if I save that and refresh, and I come back here, now my primary text doesn't actually change. So why is that? Am I doing something that I don't expect? What is I'm doing wrong? Let's go back to where this is being used. This is being used. Oh, the text style is right here. That's why. So let's go ahead, comment that out, save it, refresh. Still doesn't give me what I think I should expect. Okay, so it's still giving me black input because I have this. No, that's the top part. Okay, so text field input. You know what? I'm gonna say I don't really understand how this works, or why it doesn't work the way I think it should work. That's the label style, but we don't want the label style. We want the text style of the text field. If I do go back to, let me pin this. I'm going to remove some things from the pinned. This is the add pet screen. We'll leave that. This is the block test. We're going to get rid of that. We're going to go grab the theme. We're going to pin that tab. And then we're going to go back to our decorator because I'm about to admit defeat and try and figure this out later. Because like I said, I went through the exercise of trying to find something that felt correct, but nothing felt correct from what I found on the interwebs, i.e. everything just kind of seemed extremely hello worldish, and I like to hear other people's opinions because hearing other people's opinions helps me form better opinions. I'm very much the type of person where if you challenge me to go learn something, I'll go learn it, and if it works better for me than what I was doing, like I'll incorporate it. I don't care. I'm not proud. I don't have all the answers all the time, and even the answers that I have aren't right all the time, right? So it's life. But this seems extremely odd, given that I would expect something a little bit different. I would expect that this on primary color change would, maybe it's on containers. Maybe it's the fact that I have to take this whole thing. Let's try this just for science, and let's refresh it. And now I'm gonna come here. You know what? I'm gonna restart the whole thing because maybe it's a restart issue. Let's do. Okay, the cursor was green for a half a second, but okay. All right, I'm gonna admit that I don't understand what these on primaries actually do, even though the tooltip tells me that the color that's clearly legible when drawn on primary. So this should be the text color, but it seems like that is not the case. So okay, fine. I concede that point. I don't understand how this works still, but I'm not gonna let that hold me up in making progress from styling my little widget here. So that's placeholder text. We don't care about placeholder text. We're gonna go back to where we use this from, which is the text entry widget. So somehow, and I'm gonna just go ahead and accept that it's magic, somehow my text is working accurately. I actually need to go here and say that the border on my input decoration, there should be two borders, right? There's a focus border and a non-focus border, right? There's a hover color, focused border, focused error border. Oh, that's beautiful. Okay, so I have the border set, but I need to set the focused border. The error border. Okay, so we're gonna start playing with that. We're gonna see. We're gonna delete the stuff that isn't working, and so we can come back to it later. And we're going to grab this border, and we're just gonna duplicate the. Come on, there we go. We're gonna duplicate that, and we're gonna say that this is gonna be the focused border, and we're gonna make. Oh, wait a minute. The border itself doesn't have a color. So how does it know? Input decoration filled is true. It will not draw a border. Okay, if the border size parameter is none, it will not draw a border. However, okay, application does not specify border size parameter for value. The input based on the current is focused of the theme. Border radius. Floating label behavior, which should be set. Don't think that's what I want. Okay. So that's weird. That means that I can change, I can change the border radius. Or maybe there's an outline border. Yep, nope. It just lets me set the border properties, not the color. So now the real question is, how am I getting that nice blue, which is definitely one of my colors in my color scheme. So let's go look at that and see. I wish that okay, let me go to my application colors, and also doesn't show it to me the way I expected. Gotta love it. I'm gonna have to come back in here and change the way this is done because I need to be able to see what the colors actually are. Let me go back over here to my This is my primary color. My primary color is that. That's my primary color. So we'll grab that and we'll go look for this. Let's find this. Okay, primary blue. Derp. So if I come here, so I guess I should just do a find for that. Next appointment card. The container is blue. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. So maybe we look for what the color is. Color scheme. There we go. Primary. What is primary? The color displayed most frequently across the app's screens, right? That's fine. My expectation would be that there's gotta be something that's giving me the ability to set the border color. Okay. Focused versus unfocused border color Flutter. Text field border color on focus. Here we go. All right. Okay, so it does take the primary color as the border for the text field. That's interesting. Oh, I can. Okay, I can set the. Okay, okay. Yes, yes, yes. Beautiful. Okay. This is why the internet is undefeated. So if I go to my outline input, supposedly on my input decorator, on my outline input, I can say border side, and I can do a, supposedly, this is what the internet's telling me, I can do a border side, and I can do the color, I can do app theme dot primary blue. Okay, that gets that. So now if I do that for both the focused and the unfocused, right, now if I do that, so yeah, this is legitimately me just looking at the documentation, going to Stack Overflow, and trying to figure this out, because clearly I don't get it. And I'm the type where I have to read the documentation a couple of times and write a sample and see, yeah, still didn't do it. Still didn't do it after I restarted. So the fill color, that seems odd. The code itself is quite self-explanatory. I love how arrogant some people are. The code is self-explanatory. Yeah, sometimes it is. A lot of times it isn't. Oh, my wife is yelling at the dog. Okay, he's acting right. Set of our, okay, you set the focused border property of the input decorator. Yep, I got that. But enabled border. So is there, okay, there's a border, there's an enabled border. So I need to set the enabled border. So this is where it's like, okay, how many times do I need to redo the same thing? Which, if I have to do this, what I'm going to end up doing is just creating a composable bit of an outline input explicitly that I get to reuse. But I want to see if this gets me... Ha! Ha ha ha! Okay. So, okay. So the border itself... So if I take this away... Okay, so the enabled border is... The thing is enabled, right? So that makes sense. Sorry, I gotta go look at the. Hey, long time. You been doing okay? Big King LSU is asking me, have I been doing okay? Yeah, it's been a while, and actually, I was sick the entire month of August. Like from halfway through August, I got some type of infection, and it took me like 3 weeks before I started feeling like having energy again. So I took some time off. But thank you for asking. Yes, I'm doing better now, and anytime I'm up to it, I'm on top of it. So thanks for asking. I appreciate that. Okay, so like now I think I'm getting this. Okay, so because every course that I've looked at for Flutter and all of this stuff tells you go to the documentation. Like documentation is difficult sometimes because reading it, like, okay, I read it, doesn't make sense. So I usually end up in this space where it's like, oh, let's just toggle all the switches and see what actually works. So now I'm actually interested to see if I take away this border altogether, now that I have an enabled border and a focused border, I'm actually going to change this from primary blue to, let's call this blue gray 100, because I actually don't know what that color looks like or any of that. So I'm going to have to go through each one of my colors and apply all the colors from the app all over again, because the AI tool that I used, magic code. It's always bad, right? Like I never know what's going on. So, okay, so now if I have my enabled and my focus, now if I go back here and I restart, and I go to dog, ha, perfect. So now, okay, so now I need to set like a deselect focus on the thing, or give it something else I can focus on the page. But now that actually changes the focus of the border of the focus bits, which is exactly what I want. That is beautiful. Okay, so now my text entry is more or less styled the way that the Figma design is set up. So that's good. I'm actually going to go forth and do the buttons next, just because we're on this theming kick, and I like to try and group my concerns together. I actually just want this to be, instead of I'm gonna take this text style out too and do something else with it. I actually want to take the app theme and just make this black, right? Because I want my text at the top to just be dark. I'm gonna come back probably later and figure out how to properly theme it. Yeah, there we go. So now that looks correct. That looks correct. Cool. So so material button. Okay, so we've got a material button. We've got a couple of, can we do a theme for a material button? Let's go find the theme data and let's find out. Theme data. So in my theme data, which I'm also probably gonna have to figure this out. So I think that I get why this is doing this now based upon the previous portion of the conversation where I was saying, hey, I don't understand the way this thing's set up. Given the fact that that there's application theming, which is colors, so you've got your colors, so your light colors and your dark colors, you want to apply those light colors or dark colors to a given theme so that the colors are set correctly. So like we've got these elevated button themes. I actually just want to go look at the documentation again and see, based upon what the theme data class has to offer, what button stuff do we have available to us. So there's a button theme. So okay, so this defines the default configuration for buttons like drop downs and button bar. That's not what we want. Is there like a material button theme? Because there's a material button. There's a material tap target theme. That's intriguing. Okay, yep. So this is where it's like, okay, I can look at the documentation, or I can just go decompile code. I much prefer to just go decompile code. That's all color schemes, icon theme data, text theme. That's the primary text themes. That's the typography. Did that get? Yeah, okay, that's literally right from the documentation. Perfect. Okay. See, this is why I prefer to decompile the code, because I can just, you guys can't see this. Haha, because I'm only showing the editor screen. But the tooltip inside IntelliJ, which is part of the reason why I use IntelliJ, the tooltip inside the IntelliJ is actually giving me information directly from the documentation. It looks just like the documentation on the website, so it gives me an understanding of being able to read it for myself. I would expect, let's just do a search for button here. Ooh, not button. So you got button theme, which is just a general button theme data used with button theme. Okay, so this class is planned to be deprecated in the future release. Please use one of the following. Fantastic. Text button. Okay, so for text button, we use text button theme and text button theme data, elevated button. What if I want to do it on a material? Okay, there we go. A button theme can be specified as part of the overall material theme by using button theme. But if it's being deprecated, then okay. Oh, this is why reading documentation is difficult to me, because it's never apparent what's going on, right? Because in one sentence this says it's deprecated, and then in the next paragraph it tells us use it for the overall button for the material theme. Filled button theme, floating action button theme. So let's just keep doing this button. Okay, so that gives me color scheme. So it checks. Okay, so it just takes the default color scheme, which is fine. Button bar theme, button bar theme. Oh, because I have it. Yeah, okay. So I think actually what I want is the word button. No, that's not going to get me where I want to be either. So I think I have to change this to button. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so filled button, outline button, icon button, toggle button, segment button, buttons, 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 buttons. Buttons, 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 buttons. All the buttons and none of the buttons that I want. Action icon theme button, close button, back button. Button theme data. This defines configuration full of button widgets like drop down and button bar, but that's not what I want. Okay, so I am now believing that a theme for customizing the appearance of internal layout of an elevated button, filled button. But I've just been using material buttons, so like now my Google Foo hopefully will tell me, or maybe what I can do is this. Let's go back to our code. Yep, here we go. And we'll just put in here, we'll put a button. Yeah, so that gives me an understanding. So what buttons do I have available to me? So I've got a drop down button, an icon button, a material button, a back button, a close button, a drawer. Let's just take the elevated button for a second, because what I want to see is this. I want to actually decompile the source and see what it, So now I want to know what extends button style button, right? Because like that's what we're like that's the crux of what we're getting to, is we're trying to understand how to apply a theme to all the buttons in my application without having to do one for each elevated like outline button, right? So if I do that, yep, yell at me, and I do this, this also extends button style button. So now I'm going to do this. I'm going to copy this bit. I'm going to paste it in my browser. I'm going to say, what buttons extend the button style button? Extend. What buttons extend button style button in Flutter? New buttons and button themes. Here we go. Breaking changes, segment button, elevated button, custom elevated button, Flutter, how to expand multiple Flutter, how to use button themes in Flutter. We'll try. Maybe that'll get us where we want to be. Okay, so this might actually be a good resource. In the old days, button theme used to be used, but nowadays it's obsolete and has been replaced by text button theme, elevated button theme, and outline button theme. For customizing the appearance of internal layouts, yep, text button theme, example, text button, elevated button. Okay, so does that mean that instead of using material, but let's try that real quick. Let's actually just do that real quick, just to see. Right, because I actually have a theme, or sorry, going back to my theme, I already have something set up for the elevated button. So maybe we just use an elevated button and everything will work, right? Instead of a material button. So let's try that real quick. So we've got an elevated button. It's got a child and a non-pressed. Okay. So if I come back out here to my simulator and I go to debug and I restart my application because reasons. Sweet. I get the button looking kind of how it's supposed to look. The problem with it is now... yeah, now I don't have text in it. So what did I... So now the question is, what's wrong with my theme? Dun dun dun. Let's go. Oh, yeah, my dog is getting in trouble. She is getting in his case. Okay, so elevated button style so we use the color scheme primary for the background color. Shape is rounded, rectangle. Okay, so this is where I got to go look at the Figma. The Figma says that it's 30, so we'll put 30 because that's fine. Visual density, padding. Edge insets 0. Okay, so visual density, I'm not quite sure what that does. A const constructor for visual density, horizontal augments must be made. Okay, so then why is it that when I provide an elevated button this text, the text no longer shows up in my button? Is it because I don't have a size for my button? Let's try this. Is there like a long press style? So I guess I gotta give it a style, and the style will dictate what the padding and all that is. So if I do, but I feel like that's what the flipping theme is supposed to do, right? Like that's what the theme is there for, right? Let's figure this out. Let's go look at this dot style. So helpful. So helpful. All right, so text style, foreground, background, overlay color. So if I do text style, icon color, blah, 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 blah. Okay, this should get me where I want to be. So if I do here, I do, wait, no. Button style, so I'm style from text style. Okay, so if I do text style and I go back, let's just do text style. Let's do a font size of 24 just to see. Let's refresh the thing. Dog, still nothing, right? Like that's. All right, let's figure this out. So we'll make this easier on ourselves, right? We'll go back here. We'll restart the application, and we'll just work on these two buttons, right? Because I've in my brain. Let me go back to the Figma. Look at the design. Yeah. So these are supposed to be primary action buttons. Okay. So the primary action button we want is going to be on the decorator pet screen. So the text entry, so the pet screen. And it's going to be a pet type widget, and it's going to be initial. So here we go. Cat dog. Okay, so this is a material button. So if we change this to a flat button, no, it's not a flat button. Oh, it's old. What button types do we have in Flutter? Let's figure that one out. Yeah. Yep. I see this telling me that's an outlined button. We want an elevated button. We do want an elevated button. So let's change this to an elevated button. And let's change this to an elevated button, right? Because those are supposed to be the... Yeah, and I lose my... Why? Okay. Elevated button text. Not displaying. Flutter. How to solve elevated button error in Flutter. Elevated button not displaying after set or on press. How to solve error. Nope. Mastering elevated button in Flutter, a complete guide. Okay, so if I can't figure this out after looking at the complete guide, that means the complete guide was incomplete, right? Like that's how that works? Okay. And before I can even read the blog posts, like, subscribe. Like, why would I like or subscribe if I haven't even figured out if you actually can solve my problem, right? Oh, there's a minimum size on that elevated from style. Okay. This might be, you know what? Might be the comprehensive guide. This thing might have just won. So let's go back to the, nope, that's, yeah. Nope. Here we go. Theming. We're going to, we are doing good at this. Okay. So elevated button theme, the theme, and we should be able to do in here there should be a minimum size. Size is going to be, the width is going to be 200 and the height is going to be, what are the height of those buttons? Buttons are usually multiples of 8, so let's call it 48 in terms of the height. Why? Oh, yep, because I didn't put a thing. There we go. We save. We restart. Okay, I now have properly sized buttons. Let's Add some padding. Okay, this is where I'm like, okay, I'm really digging the Flutter theming concept because I can do all of the theming at this level and just use elevated buttons, and that's right up my alley, right where I want to be. Horizontal, I don't think I need that many pixels. I think I need 8 pixels on the horizontal and 16 pixels on the vertical. Let's see what that looks like after we restart. Ooh, we broke it. We clearly broke it. Let's, oh, synchronization failed. Let's restart. Okay. May affect execution. What is broken? The, oh, oh, dun dun dun. That's why it's yelling at me, because I'm already set padding on it, and I'm just not smart enough to realize that. There we go. So let's get rid of that. Let's save that. Let's restart the application. Buttons, icons, label. Oh. Maybe it's the fact that I'm not using the thing correctly. That's usually what the problem is a user error, right? I'm not above having user errors. Elevated button, child text press me. That seems like I'm doing everything right there. Let's mute these breakpoints. Okay, it didn't change my horizontal or my vertical axes. Let's yeah, it's still not giving me the text, which I would expect, right? Elevated button. The child is the text. The text is set on the elevated button. I'm setting the text style, the font size. The background color is color scheme.primary. So clearly I'm missing something. Clearly I don't understand how this works. This is the hard part about like learning stuff yourself, and like I respect self-taught developers, but at the end of the day, like even though I have a CS degree, I'm still a self-taught developer. Like I still teach myself new technologies all the time. Like I taught myself mobile applications. Like nobody taught me how to do mobile. Like C Sharp had a mobile offering called Xamarin, and I saw it and I was like, I want to understand how to do this. So I taught myself. Like I teach myself different technologies all the time. And in my opinion, if you aren't doing that, you aren't really a software developer. Like you've got to teach yourself new things. You've got to test the waters and see what else is out there, man. Because if you only do things one way all your career, right? Like that's the whole, oh, I've been doing software for 30 years, or have you been doing software for 30 years and growing for those 30 years, or have you been doing year one for 30 years, right? Like how deep into the rabbit hole are you willing to go? So, this is where I definitely empathize with self-taught developers because like based on everything that I'm reading, this should work and I should have text. And I don't have text. But there's like nothing here that tells me why I don't have text. So let me increase by increments of 8. So 48 is 56, 56, and 8 is, let's just go straight to 88 just to as a by the by, right? Okay, I'll do that. That makes it easy. Okay, so that makes my buttons bigger, but I still don't have any text. Is it because I need to set, let's do app, let's try this. Color, app theme, no, not underscore app theme, dot. Let's use black for now. Okay, so now that means that the text style, still no, I was thinking that maybe the text is taking the wrong color. How do I change this? How do I, okay, so let me go back to my Google Foo. I still haven't figured out primary color. That's the style, the label, text. Yep. The complete guide did not teach me what I needed to know. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. Okay, so what, pray tell, am I missing? Pin tab, text. It's an elevated button, so I don't need to provide it a style because I've already styled it in my theme. On pressed, the text. It's a text widget. I mean, this should work. Based on everything that I see, all the internets tells me that I should be able to see my text. So let's just do it right in line. Let's put a text style, and let's put text style. Let's go ahead and put the color of the text, and let's put app theme dot black. Now, when I restart the thing, what do you give me? Ha! Ha 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 ha! Somewhere along the flippin' dependency chain, my text style is not getting added correctly to my elevated button bits. So for the moment, we'll just go ahead and style these directly. Oh wait, that needs to go in the text. Yeah. There we go. So let's do that. Okay, so now I've got my elevated buttons, I've got my text, and let me go check my Figma design. Are those supposed to, ooh. Oh, is it supposed to be white text? Yeah, it looks like it's supposed to be white text on the, okay, so this needs to be, let's do white. White. All right, so now we are cooking with gas. So like now I'm gonna have to dig through the theming dependency chain and understand why my text style isn't working, but whatever, that's fine. That's a tomorrow problem. To make progress today, shout out to my Canadian friends. To make progress today, I'm just gonna circumvent the fact that the theme does not seem to be propagating correctly. I want to drop my size back down to 48. I'm still not getting. Oh, because that's padding. Does it do margin? It doesn't do margin. Wait a minute. Okay, I always have to think about this. Padding is from the inside out, and margin is from the outside in, right? Okay, so I want a margin on my. This is the margin that I want on my buttons. Minimum size. I don't see the margin bits. Okay, there is no margin. I don't see a margin. So if I want a margin, I have to come all the way back out here and see if, does this have a margin? Oh, wait. It won't tell you if it has a margin, whether, unless you, this is where, like, somebody that I know that I do C# with was like, Rodney, you gotta put commas at the end of every line. He watched one of my live streams. Like, you gotta put commas at the end of every line, otherwise you're not doing Flutter right. And like now, like I get it, but ugh. Okay, so let's go look at the elevated button. So then maybe it's gonna be on the column, and I need to do. Is there a nope? That's. If I do a margin on the margin, no, I don't want to do that. I want the margin itself to be around each individual button. I feel like there should be a way for me to do this. I feel like there's there's definitely a padding. I could wrap this in a actual padding, right? I could wrap that in padding, and I can say that this is the padding that we want. If I do that and I restart, there we go. Okay, so I can do it that way. Not ideal. I'm actually going to reduce the vertical down to 8 as well. I'm going to go back to my theme where I have the minimum size, and I actually think I want the minimum size to be closer to like 300. There we go. Okay. And I think that, what's the height on these buttons? Oh. Is that really the height? Is 52? Okay, fine. 335 and 52. They're doing it a little bit different increments than I do it in, but that's fine. Okay, so now that means that if I go back here and I restart, now my buttons are correct, so I'll go ahead and click dog, which gets me where I want to be. Okay, so now I'm going to go... Hmm. Elevated button theme data is a style. The button has a text style, but the style from it's just like because now I'm interested. Like, why doesn't my theme work the way I expect it to work? Right. So like, let's dig in for a quick second and see if we can't figure it out. I don't know if it'll load. I don't know. I don't know. Text style. Yeah. So this should just take the flipping text style and it should just work. Something's not right in the sauce. Okay. I'm gonna Google about that later. I'm gonna change this to white for now. White A700, just so that it's got the correct value. Set that. Yep. Text style. Font size. Okay, so I've got gray. I've got stuff. I've got things. Elevated theme button text style. So now if I go back to okay. So now I'm using this elevated button, the text, and I explicitly had to set the text style. So let me go back to this, and let's just grab that. And let's go back to the text entry, and on that elevated button, we're gonna set the style. Oh no, sorry. We're good at this. There we go. So now we're gonna set the text style here. Hot restart. Dog. Next. Ooh, spicy. Okay. So if I want to override this button and make it so that the size of this button is different, I'm going to go back to my theme and I'm going to check the minimum size of an elevated button. So does the elevated button actually have a minimum size, or is that like a styling thing? It's got to be a style thing. Style from, what's that, minimum size? Maximum size, okay. So is there, okay, so what does it say? Convenience method that constructs an elevated button. Okay, it doesn't give me. And to change the fill. Yep, style. Style from. So how do we do this? I don't. I should be able to set the. Okay, well, let's just go fix size. No usage is found. Okay, so style from maximum size. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna try this on my text entry. I'm going to do. Let's try this. Why? Oh, because I'm smarter than a fifth grader. That's why. There we go. So this is the on pressed. So now, if I do style, elevated button dot style from, and I want to change the minimum size to size, and I want the minimum size of this button. So what's half of 300 is 150, and the height is still gonna be 52. Let's see if that affects anything. It's gonna restart. Yes, it does. Awesome. So that means that I get the entirety of my style, but the bits are different. Perfect. So now in this elevated button, because like what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make as much of the styling global as possible for scalability. So and even though I'm creating my own widgets, I'm very much the type of person where it's like, okay, that's great that I'm creating my own widgets, but I don't want to just like I've seen a lot of a lot of Flutter where it's like, okay, like I have my own widget, so I just put all the styling right there in that widget, and I'm just like, okay, because it gives me theming for certain elements that it understands out of the box. I want to theme those elements out of the box, and then if I have to override them, override them. A lot of people say, "Oh, Rodney, that's just an over optimization." Yep, you're right. It is. So what? Like, go jump in a lake. This is the way I like to do things. I like to make things as scalable as possible for the next developer to come behind me to not have to worry about how things work. So let's do back. Ooh, so now I have this on next. And we're going to do an on back. Nope, that needs to be back. Yep, we're going to do that. On changed, on back. All right, so clearly I've got this figured out to some degree, right? Like this is still a little bit more than what I want. Like I want this text to just have a default text style, and maybe I end up creating my own widget for that. Don't know. But if I restart this now, oops, synchronization failure. Clearly I have code that doesn't compile. On back isn't provided. Let's just do this for the moment. Let's do on back, and right now it's just going to be a no op. I don't want it to do anything because I haven't actually given it anything to do. So we'll go ahead and do that there. And I guess that means that we need to provide the same thing to this text entry on back. Okay, so now if I restart, because I can do that now. Restart. Oh, my UI is actually starting to look good, so just want to point that out. That's actually making me feel some kind of way because, man, like UI is not what I'm the greatest at. Like I started as a back-end developer years and years and years ago. Well, that's actually technically not true. I started as a web dev and turned myself into a microservices guru before microservices was a buzzword, back when it was service-oriented architecture. And now I'm like, I got into mobile. I moved back into the front end when I moved to mobile and Xamarin, and now I'm like, okay, Flutter does UI easier than Xamarin. I'll just go ahead and say it. To me, it's easier to construct a UI in Flutter than it is to do it in Xamarin. And as a result, I want to be as efficient as possible with the way I do things in this new world because I like efficiency. So row, if I do, I don't want to wrap my row in padding, but I want my row to be centered. So can I do like can I just wrap this in a center widget? Will that do it? Let's see. Let's see if that works. Probably doesn't, but nope, that didn't do it. So let's remove that center widget. Remove this widget. Row. So how do we? Oh, okay. So I should be able to do like main axis alignment dot center. There we go. And if I do that, now my buttons are centered. Perfect. But I also need to wrap this in some padding. Or does it come with padding? Padding. Nope. Row doesn't come with padding. It doesn't come with margin. So we'll just wrap this in a padding widget, and the padding on all sides is 8 for the moment. That's fine. So if we refresh this, that gets me 8. Oh, but my buttons don't have the correct. Okay, so let's grab this and let's remove the padding widget. Remove the widget, okay? And then we'll go here to where we have our style, and we'll do style, and we'll add our padding on all sides, and we'll add 4 pixels of padding on all sides. That way there'll be 8 pixels of padding in between on both of those widgets. And like that's the thing, like I may even take this elevated from and just create a style specifically for miniature primary action button or whatever, because the more I can reuse, the less I have to copy and paste this stuff, the more maintainable all this code becomes. And you know, I've met with a lot of consultants that say, oh, Rodney, it doesn't matter if it's maintainable. You just ship the code and give the business value. And like, okay, that's great. When you're the guy that's brought in to just write the initial offering and then you leave, that's fine. But when you're the guy that has to maintain that, you're going to wish, you're going to wish that somebody had done it correctly for you. Oh. Okay, so you notice that I lost my padding at the top, and I still don't have padding in between my buttons. Why is that? Why is that? I actually don't know why that is. Okay, so let's hit Control Z. Let's Control Z the things. Okay, I mean, I know that I can just put like I know I can just put a size box in here, and I can just put like in a width of 8. Like I know I can do that, but I don't want to do that because it feels kind of janky. Yeah. Like from again, my Xamarin brain thinks that I should be able to add padding to each one of these individual elements. Okay, so here we go. Now my UI looks less janky, which is cool. But we are gonna real quick. We're gonna go to our block and add a back. We have a next. Okay, let's do it this way because we're smarter than a fifth grader. We're gonna come here and we're gonna go to next, where the next is, and we're gonna, ooh, yeah. See, again, I'm gonna copy and paste this switch statement, and it's gonna feel really, really bad. Let's change this to back. When the case is initial, when the case is type. Wait, how's this even actually working? Oh, question mark. I don't know. How is this next button working? Okay, we're gonna put a breakpoint in here. We're gonna see how this is actually working because like when I'm on the initial state, the next. Yeah, I'm quiet for the moment because I'm trying to figure out what I widget dot on next. So it calls the on next. The on next is basically what I have in the next. So what is this method actually doing? Oh, that's right. These ones don't matter. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, so if I go back from the name, I want to go back and I want to add pet type. Pet type. Add pet type selected event. Yeah, that'll work. Oh, yikes. Yikes. All right, let's go figure this one out. Add pet animal type event. So verbose. Yep, my dog is getting yelled at. He is not going to be happy with me when he gets. Okay, so if we're at the name, we want to go back and we want to do that. This should be required animal type. Let's add the required animal type, and the animal type is going to be whatever the state dot type. Oh, yikes. So the state. I am so smart. I am so smart. I am so smart. Type is a string. What do you? Oh, it's a nullable string. Ugh. So because it's nullable, ugh, I think I'm gonna have to go refigure that one out because that's not gonna make me happy. All right, so get rid of that, and we're gonna call this a status of dot type, right? Okay. So I just want to see that this actually works, and then I think we're gonna call it here for the day. I think we've made some good progress. We've actually started to figure out what the theming looks like, how to theme the buttons, how to go about doing some of the harder stuff that I don't really know how to do in Flutter. Again, like you want me to use clean architecture, you want me to write unit tests, you want me to do all those things. Like, yeah, I can do that. Domain driven design, behavior driven development, I got that. That's easy. You want me to build you a nice, pretty, snappy, responsive UI? I got some work to do. So if I go back, I'm clicking the back button. Oh, dun dun dun! We are smart. We didn't actually wire up the page to use it, did we? Nope, we did not. So let's go ahead and grab this back. Ha ha. Ha 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 ha. Ha ha ha. All right, so now we've got our back, and oh wait, there won't be a back for that. It doesn't matter. My dog is gonna be mad at me because his mama is getting in his behind right now. Ooh. He's just not listening. Just not listening. All right, all right. So we got dog. You go back. Uh oh. Okay, I'm gonna figure out that forward and back thing next week. I'm not gonna worry about that right now. I'm actually also gonna come in here and try and find a way to make this a little bit less janked. Um, but I feel like today was productive, given that we've got a widget that's themed. We've got our forward and back buttons, which I'm going to end up moving further down the page. I'm actually going to move all of this further down into the middle of the page later. But we've got our entry styled. We've learned a little bit about how Flutter themes work and the fact that the elevated button theme is not respecting our text style correctly across all of the buttons. So we're going to dig into that, and I'm actually going to put a to do. This color is not working as part of the default theme. Why? Okay, cool. So we've left ourselves a to do to make that happen. All right, so I think I'm satisfied with where we are for today. Yeah, it's the 14th, so yeah, I'll be back next week because I'm feeling better and life is good again. So I'll be back next week to talk about this a little bit more and to go through kind of where we are. And next week, I think what we're going to focus on now that we've got the forward, the back. I'm gonna get the forward and back figured out, and we've got the pets adding. I'm going to try and get all the way through the add process and save my pet to local in-memory storage. So we're gonna try and figure out what that looks like. I actually don't even know where we are in terms of that. Do we have? We've got a repository implementation. Our repository implementation takes in a data store. So we have a concept of a data store and we have an in-memory data store. Perfect. So we'll be able to add our pet to this data store next week, and then we can start moving on to some of the other screens. But as of now, I think that this is a good place. Again, and is the way that I'm doing it correct for Flutter? I don't know. Is the wizard approach the way that I'm doing the wizard approach, is that correct? Don't know. Should I probably put some? Oh, you know what? The design doesn't have it, but we should probably put some like little buttons down the bottom that tell you how far through the process you are. I think that'd be a nice little addition. But long and short, I'm at a good place, and I'm happy with the progress that we've made in the time that we've been working on this today. So I will see you guys next time. Thank you for tuning in.